We are back with another episode of the ERG Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Macia Owens, and I go by the ERG Homegirl because I'm all things employee resource groups. However, this conversation is not about me. I love when we're able to bring guests on the podcast, and we bring some pretty amazing people. Today is no different. So, actually, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, Rakeema. I feel like people do a better job themselves up at the beginning of these.
I'm gonna try. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Rakeema Thomas Toussaint. Most people call me Kima, and I am an ERG program manager as well as an ERG co-facilitator for the Black ERG at my company.
Okay, exciting. Now I'm excited to get into how you became a program manager, but in general, I would love to just hear how you even got into ERGs at all and what made you first say,
Yeah.
I want to become an ERG lead.
All right. So I feel like there's a bigger story there. When I first joined my company, I was expecting and I had a little one, and I was like, I don't have time to add anything else to my list of things other than trying to survive. When I eventually found my footing, I was like, what's this over here? I hear everybody talking about the Black ERG. Let me go check it out. Just a few months of being within the ERG, there was an all call for leadership. And I just said, why not me? And here I am today. I am within my second year of facilitating for the Black ERG. And throughout my journey, I also got a promotion, which is for Senior People and Community Development Specialist, which is a very long title. And part of that work includes managing our ERG program.
Okay, now that's a lot of ERG leaders' dream, I will just say. So I'm curious, what did that look like? One, what are some things that maybe I'll say it like this? What are some things that you did or accomplished as an ERG lead that you felt helped to position you for the promotion, like leading the ERG program?
All right, that's a loaded question. I'll just say, so what I was doing prior to the job that I'm in now, I was a program manager. And part of that work is really looking at the big picture of a project and figuring out how to backwards plan, make all of the tasks and the content materials that go along with that. And I looked at the ERG as a project as well. So part of it was looking big picture along with my co-facilitator and I, we both just figured out what do we want to be true for the ERG by the end of the year, and we backers planned from there. And part of that included setting up our leadership team so that they had a responsibility and ownership of the ERG. We're really big on this is not just our show. It's a group effort. So we always are leaning into how can we empower other people to step up and tap into experiences that they don't get in their day-to-day work. Going back to your previous question of things that I did that positioned me for a promotion, I think part of it was setting up those systems and structures that we use within our ERG still today. That is a strength of mine. I'm very good at organizing and putting things in places that, at least in my brain, make sense. And so my focus there was how do I set something up so whoever comes behind us, they can follow easily along with that. And I think within my experience as ERG leader, I got to work with some amazing people, including some of our C-suite members of the company. I got to work with other senior leaders, and part of it was I got exposure. People are seeing, hey, we see what the Black ERG is doing. Chemo, we see you doing this thing over here. And again, I think that got me attention in spaces that I would not have been in otherwise had I not participated in the ERG. Like I'm a little long-winded here, but I think part of it is that people were able to see what I'm gonna say the talents that I bring to the ERG space. And I'll just add that was a benefit for me. I didn't get to utilize some of those experiences in my previous work. And I think now it's a marrying of passion as well as I'm really good at this. So that's not a tooting my own horn, but it's more of a I'm getting to maximize my potential, especially within this space now.
I love that. And that's one of the things I really love about ERGs is I feel like just about whatever your interests are, ERGs can help to bring that out in a way where you can really hone those skills or even just apply them differently. And even with you mentioning with your prior experiencing manage with your prior experience managing programs, how the idea is paint the picture of where you want to go, work backwards, which is
Mhm.
what I love to talk about all the time with the three P's. Like you have to know what overall vision is and then work backwards to create the structure. So, right in line, that all that being said, when it comes to the structure, actually, no. Let's go through the steps then for you, because it seems like we're on the same page in how to approach it. How do you paint the picture of where you want to go? Let's start with that one. What does that conversation look like with just defining that for an ERG?
Okay, so I think this is a question a lot of us tend to forget to ask. What's the impact that we want our ERG to have? I think starting with the impact and then going backwards. This is a little weird now because now I see myself. Sorry. But again, that first question is what's the impact we want our ERG to have? And then from there, what activities need to be true in order for that impact to exist? And then from there, backwards planning from those activities or the goals that we've set in place is really what are the benchmarks that we need in order to reach those goals. And then part of it too is who can help us with getting to those goals. So it's a lot of, and again, I was a former educator as a teacher. It's like lesson planning, but our lesson is our program. And again, we are just figuring out what are all the pieces that need to go into place to make our, in this case, our ERG mission continue to be applicable. Sorry, cut that piece out.
All good. And honestly, like hearing you speak right now, we're so on the same page. I just cannot emphasize that enough because I don't hear that all the time, even from program managers. But the thing, everything that you just laid out is what I'm trying to push for ERG program managers. Really, let me just outline what you just said. The vision piece. So asking, what are we trying to accomplish? Makes a lot of sense. And then
I don't
from
know if you
there,
it's like thunderstorming over here, so I don't know if you heard that at all. Okay, sorry, my bad.
no, actually, I did hear it a little bit, but where are you based? Just curious. We didn't even
So I'm right outside of Baton Rouge, go Tigers, big LSU fan, alumni in so many ways. Stayed there a long, long time. I got all my degrees from LSU.
hopefully stay safe. Hurricane season's coming up, so that's always a fun time.
So my
Yeah, honestly, I just hear a lot of the same things that I really try to push. Even I think the benchmarks piece that's around the data. I just got out of data month, just talking nonstop about it. But one of the questions I also like that you asked is who can help you or who do you need to leverage to accomplish this? What does that typically look like for an ERG in terms of who should an ERG tap and how should they reach out?
Yeah, I think that goes back to what are the goals? What are we trying to do here? And then then figure out who are the people that need to be in place to support this goal. Sometimes it's our chief inclusion officer, sometimes it's our executive sponsors, sometimes it's someone in HR or our people and culture team. But again, there are individuals at our company, they have a paid job to do some of the things that we are seeking. So how can we leverage our resources that are already at the company, and then sometimes it's how do we tap people that are ERG members so that they are stepping into these roles and it's not just members that are on the leadership team that are they're honing their skills. We're always looking for ways to empower people within our community. So it's giving people an opportunity to step up, regardless of their role.
I love it. Now, the second P of the 3 Ps is really around processes. And really for you, that would be what you were saying about setting up these frameworks, these structures for the ERG. So, what does that process look like in creating structures? And is there a structure that you really lean towards when it comes to an efficient ERG?
Okay. I will name so from my own experience with the Black ERG, for us, it's let's I don't wanna say backwards plan again, but I think about our meetings that we have. We have monthly community meetings. From those meetings, all of our ERG committee leads are expected to provide updates. So we have to meet with our committee leads to make sure that they have what they need in order to present to the overall ERG. Sorry, it's
That's
thunderstorming
all
here.
good.
Uh, so part of that is we always start the month with a leadership team meeting just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And prior to meeting with that leadership team, myself and my co-facilitator, we meet sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-monthly. It's the goal is just to always be in sync. So we're both given the same message when we're speaking to anyone, either in the leadership team or on our ERG. It's a lot of communication that happens. But to go back to your question too about the structures, is really just identifying what are those needs, when do we need to meet, thinking about those meetings, what do we want to be true at the end of those meetings so that we can continue to work. We're
Mm,
really big on there's something we want our ERG members and community members here at our company to experience. How do we make it happen? That's really the root of it.
that is such an impactful question. What do we want to be true at the end of these meetings? And I feel like even if ERG leaders went into meetings with that question in mind, there will be a more efficient meeting than I don't know if you've ever been in one of these, but one of those calls where you just hop into a meeting and you're just talking the whole time and nothing's really pushed. So,
I don't care for those I need to leave with action items and next steps.
exactly. I'm on the same page. Now, since you're like in the program management space already, I'm curious if you have any books or resources on just how to be better at program management, structuring, coming up with a vision. Go for it.
All right, so this is The Power of Employee Resource Groups by Farzana Niani. Sorry, you can't see it because of my filter, but I read her book. It's phenomenal. Definitely a good resource for anyone that is getting started in ERG. Another book that I read, I'm gonna show all of the books that I got. Another one is Inclusion Uncomplicated by Dr. Nika White.
Mm,
She's also an expert in this space of just creating inclusive workplaces. I think those, one, just learning about the basics of employee resource groups and learning how to create a more inclusive space, period. Those two things just, I would say, are the foundations of some of the work that I'm doing, specifically as an ERG program manager, but I'm always reading and finding things. These just so happen to be two of the most recent pieces of work that I'm always pushing to people. Go check that book out. I'm also a really big LinkedIn learning advocate over here. So lots of great courses on there to also check out if you're looking to learn more about employee resource groups or just creating the more inclusive space.
I love that. I love that. And I am also a big fan of Farzana's book too. Big fan. I feel like she's on the same page too. I'm gonna have to get her on the podcast eventually. But really around the structure piece that we're talking about and just getting clarity on what you're trying to build. So I love that. And anything, let's say non-DEI, non-ERG related, book wise, that's just around better organization. And maybe not, but maybe.
I'm not gonna say organization, but I also want to highlight another author I've been reading because part of what I have been doing in these past few years, ever since I stepped into the role of ERG facilitator, is I've been on this personal professional growth journey and I'm trying to figure out who I am, what am I supposed to be doing with my life, like understanding my purpose. A term that I've come across is ikigai, which is where you are really leaning into your purpose and doing something that is really putting your strengths to use. So, a book that just came out this year is Unspoken by Dr. Ella F. Washington. Her book is all about cracking the hidden corporate code, and I have found this book to be very useful. Granted, I know you said not DEI related, but it's underrepresented employees finding how to navigate the space. A term that I've also come across recently is first generation corporate.
Mm,
Look, I'm first gen corporate. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I realized there are so many things within, I'll just say corporate America. If you don't know, you don't know. But also if you don't, how would you ever know that you don't know if it's not a thing? So
mm,
that is something that I've been really trying to work on. How do I better myself in a space that I am new in? I say new, but I've been in this space for years now. But coming from education, it's night and day. So
I've heard, which is so interesting. I'm curious then, with that in mind, and we'll segue back into kind of your journey and some things that you have seen. But this topic has also been of interest to me lately because I do not come from the corporate space. And even when it comes to a lot of those unspoken things in corporate, I'm right now at I don't say a crossroads, but I've really been thinking through what is worth following, like getting into the corporate code and following versus saying, I'm gonna be me and you all can just accept me as me, which it's a difficult and I think that part of it too is my Gen Z-ness coming out where I'm like, I don't know if I wanna conform to or even for instance, one company I'm working with, they have a very strict dress code. And I'm like, I if I have to wear slacks in office, they're gonna be pink. And what's the problem with that at the end of the day? So anyway, when it comes to those unspoken things in corporate, And I don't even really know what my question is. I just know the topic is
Yeah.
very interesting right now, but just wanna get your take on the overall topic there.
Yeah, I think I'm putting down what I'm picking up what you're putting down, however the phrase goes. Something that I've been learning a lot about too is also just different generations in the workplace. And something that I've recently learned about with our Gen Zers is that actually this group is most likely to say, if this isn't working for me, I'm gonna find the next spot. Where I'm a millennial, I admit, and in our space, some of us that are on the younger side are just like, Imma work, Imma do what I gotta do, but Imma look for other options while I work. I'm not going
Mhm.
nowhere, so if you're in my company, you're watching this, I'm good, just don't let me go. But with that, it's just this different outlook on what we look for in a company. And something that I will highlight from the company that I'm at, it's really big on work culture. A lot of what we're able to do, we want people to bring their full selves. And I want to get on this topic of bringing your authentic self, which I think is very complicated because authentic may look differently for other people, for different people. My authentic self may mean I come in and I feel my best self while I'm in this. Oh, well, while I'm in this space, the other side of it, authentic for some people is, how can I come in here? I'm gonna act the same way I am at the cookout versus how I'm gonna be at a work meeting. For some people, that's you're gonna get all of me in every space. Whereas sometimes it's navigating the space. This is how I am around my family versus this is how I am around my coworkers. We're not saying either one is inauthentic. It's just a different space for a different purpose and how we I'm gonna say carry ourselves.
So I was listening to a podcast earlier and they were talking about authenticity. So I have the quote on my phone. Just it just so happens. It just so happens because it was an interesting definition of authenticity. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Authentic hold on. My phone is doing a thing. Okay, authenticity is how you would behave if there was no punishment. So what would you do if there was wait, what does it say? I can't even read what I was typing. It is what you do. Oh, it's the true alignment of what you think, what you say, and I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Sometimes I don't know if you ever type something and it's all around.
There's a
Anyway,
line
nevertheless, even just the
I'm
first part.
hearing there's alignment with what you were going with. Like, when you think, do, and say all of those things align, at least I assume that's where that was going.
Yeah, I like the first part better anyway. It's how you would behave if there was no punishment, which I think is an interesting take because in corporate,
Mhm.
whether it is actual like punishments, like you get in trouble for being yourself, or just those unspoken things that you talked about, there are some aspects of people not being authentic and tying it back to an ERG. How do you feel like an ERG can help? I don't know if it's to alleviate that punishment, to help normalize people being authentic, but yeah.
I got it. So I will name something that we've been able to do within our Black ERG. We have created a space where employees feel like they can come in and just let the guard down because a lot of us, I'll just speak very freely. A lot of us are on teams where majority of the team does not look like us. So a lot of times we may be the one or one of two that are on a team. And sometimes I need a space where I can actually let down some of the guard, I'll just call it that. I will name something that I've picked up recently is when we're able to bring our authentic selves, going back to your alignment, the amount of mental capacity that we are able to free up so that we can be our most creative and innovative selves, that is a beauty and that is what people want to have. I found that in our ERG and what we're trying to do in my role as a program manager now is how do we create those spaces for anyone that does engage in an ERG? Part of it is we have coffee chats, we have events that are focused on operating within corporate. What does that look like? We invite HR. Like, we've tried to bring all the different teams together that can help support our members in just learning one, how to navigate the space. If you not necessarily if you have issues, but like how do you have mentors in a space that have gone through experiences that you've had already and can help you navigate again this space even better. But it's really big on, and I just say our ERG in general is really big on supporting our members. That may look different for different people. Again, some people, I just need a mentor. I need a training. I need somebody to tell me where the next conference is. Again, that's going to look different, but we try to provide all of those different things, multiple offerings, and you never know what might land for someone. But it's providing those things that's really important to our ERG.
Do you have any favorite things that you've seen an ERG do for its members, programming, events, initiatives?
I'll name something we've done recently is we invited members of our talent team, our hiring team got to come and speak to our ERG and just sharing just best practices for here's what you need to have on a resume. Here's how you use a job description to update your resume to get a talent team member's attention. Another thing that we've done is look at internal mobility. So, what are some things that our teams are looking for? How can you sell yourself in a way that's going to really get you to stand out? And again, just providing those experiences, that insight of information has helped a lot of people. We've had a lot of people with promotions just within these almost 2 years since I've been on the ERG. So, and we highlight that. That's another thing we do in our ERG. Every end of quarter, we're celebrating people that have had either mobility within the company or who have done things that are even outside the company. You started your own podcast, wrote your own blog. These are things that we are constantly highlighting. We believe in recognition and representation for our members. So those are some big things that I believe are helpful in supporting our members and highlighting the things that they do.
That is nice. I will say, not every company celebrates that. There are some companies that don't want you to do your own thing and that are very clear on it. So I would just like to hear on the opposite side, the happy side. Okay. Now I'm also curious. I believe we've had conversations in the past or even just in passing. I definitely believe that running your ERG like a business is a game changer. So
Mhm.
I would love to hear what that means to you when it comes to running an ERG program like a business.
Yeah. So I like this question because one, I am married to an entrepreneur. My spouse is a business owner, and that is a life that I'm not sure if I'm ready for just yet. But I do think of our ERGs as businesses. And with any business, you got to think about long term longevity. Where do we want the business to be? I think about businesses as providing services or offering goods. In the case of our ERG, I think we provide a service of creating a space for community building and professional development, especially when that's what members in a corporate space are looking for. How can I grow? How can I learn? Where's this safe space for me so that I can be and not just be my best self, but bring my best self to work? When I think about businesses, another piece of it is advertising, getting the right people in the right places. So I think of, sorry, I'm all over the place here. When I think of the co-facilitators, I think of us as the CEOs of the business. And part of that is how do you find your team that's going to help you with managing the operations and things? Because something I have learned, again, being married to an entrepreneur is that you can't do it all yourself. So again, part of that, finding the right people. When you get the right people in the right places, seem to flow very well. I think just a testament to that, our current leadership team, they are running with it. This year, we are really just, I don't want to say sitting back and not doing anything. That's not true. We still do things, but the day to day thing, the detailed tasks and things like that, we have team members that are delegating within their committees so that other people within the ERG are not committing tasks. That sounds so weird. But they are performing tasks, getting experience with projects they may not have with their own day-to-day jobs. Again, we're offering opportunities to people, that are just within the ERG and not specifically in a team role. And I think of a business the same way. You give people opportunities. When they take them on and they do really well, they get seen, they get noticed, and people wanna have those opportunities so they can get exposure. Again, which could potentially lead to not only recognition, but potential promotion opportunities or career advancement in any form. Another thing I mentioned advertising earlier, something that our ERG really does is we advertise like a business. We have flyers, we have communications that go out. We even have like our own ERG commercial that we do. It's all internal. But the goal is getting the word out there, providing exposure to what we're putting on, whether it be events or activities or initiatives that we currently are running. How do you get it out there? You let people know. You do it in flyers, you do it in messages, we do it in email on our SharePoint site, and I think I'm in calendar invites on Outlook. We're always trying to find ways to make sure people are in the know. We even do a in the know video podcast within our ERG. But the thing is really, how can we highlight our members? How can we make sure they're informed and providing experiences that are going to help everyone collectively move and grow in a way that suits them?
I love that. I just talking to people who get it, who see the connection between ERGs and business. Because truly, even down to like how you said the commercials, which most people don't talk about often, but sometimes, like for instance, with some companies right now, towards the end of the year, some companies they lean into succession planning, and I'm always saying, I, l- yep, yep. I'm always telling people, like, have your CEO of your actual, like, real company do a quick 1-minute video and just shout out the ERG program and say, "You should probably be an ERG leader." That's a commercial, essentially, but sometimes I think it doesn't resonate with people, like, "Why would we have the CEO?" That is gonna be your influencer that you're having in your commercial, your celebrity in your commercial to promote your company, essentially.
An idea because I already know, look, CEO now, I need you. Give me a few,
Right.
just a few seconds.
Just a few seconds. It's not a long thing. It can just be a little something quick, but it can make a difference there. So I just love to see and to hear about things, even with the flyers, the promotion, and even how you set it up. I like how you mentioned, and I'm gonna circle back on this in a second, but I like how you mentioned that you all as ERG facilitators are like CEOs. Where even recently, what I've been calling this is the chief reminder officer, where a lot of the CEO, honestly, or I guess CRO in this case, is now that the vision is set, is really just reminding the teams like, we gotta stay on track. Hey, here's where you're at metrics wise. Hey, here's some recommendations. And that's essentially like the positioning of a facilitator. But I'm curious why you reference it as a facilitator in particular over, and maybe it's the same as a program manager, but I just noticed that you said that.
So let me delineate the differences of the terms that I'm using. ERG program manager, which is part of my role in the work that I currently do, is I, like I said, manage, if you will, all. We currently have six, about to have seven ERGs, but it's ensuring that all of the ERGs have what they need so that they can thrive, whatever that may look like, whether it's program support, resources and documents, systems. I'm supporting those things. An ERG facilitator, and we call it co-facilitator because each ERG has two.
Mm,
These are the people that lead the direction of each ERG. Think of them as your presidents of the organization, or in the case I said earlier, the CEO. They lead the charge. And our leadership team members are our board. These are the people that help carry out the work that has been set and that direction I talked about. I think the co facilitators, especially in my experience, we've looked at what there was a mission that was already in place before our we took on the role of co-facilitator. We revisited that mission, made sure that it's still true for what we want our ERG to be able to do, which we are it's the same. Our predecessors laid a strong foundation, and my current partner and I, we've taken it and elevated it is how I look at it. Today, we're constantly looking to grow. The other role that I mentioned, and I'm sorry if I forget one, ERG leader, I think is just this could be anyone on the leadership team, but I think those are my three different roles that I would call out. Sometimes you'll hear me use co-facilitator and leader interchangeably, but they're leading the charge of the ERGs.
got it. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, I am curious if you had to articulate the benefit that ERGs have had on you personally, your career, what that would be.
Okay, so I'm getting real transparent here and sharing all of my juicy tea.
On the
Hey,
spotlight.
oh, yeah. No, goodness. Oh, just I'm not shy at all. I'll just say in my previous work, let me just say in my experience, I'm not gonna say a jack of all trades, but I've done a lot of different have had a lot of different professional experiences in my life prior to coming to my current company. And part of that work includes research. Part of it is DEI related work. And I found that the work that I was doing prior to this role as a program manager, I was very good at it, but is it the thing that brings me the most joy? And that's not to say I couldn't do my work or I didn't like what I did. It was a matter of I want to find that thing that I wake up and it's not work. It's just I'm working on projects, but I don't see it as work. And that's currently what I've found in my work that I'm doing now. I don't see the work that I'm doing as work. And I take this from my spouse. Something that he always used to tell me is he's not going to work. He's just going to the place where he happens to make money. When you do something that you love, it doesn't come off as work. So that's a benefit to me and what I've been able to do with the ERG. When I took on the task itself, it didn't feel like work. It felt like one of those things, even though I was volunteering my time, I didn't mind how many hours I was putting into it because I got so much joy out of the planning and getting to exercise. I call it muscles that I didn't get to do so much in my previous work. Again, I pulled from my strengths as a program manager, and I think that lent itself to expanding our ERG to where it is today. But again, that passion for community development and just working with people is really what I think allowed me to thrive in that space and has contributed to my growth now in the company and hopefully my continued growth even in the future because I see a lot of this work on the path where I foresee myself going one day.
Okay,
I hope
I
that
love
answers
it.
the question. I forgot what the main question
Yeah,
was, but I hope
I
I
think
answered it.
I think you answered it, but even then, the main question was really how ERGs have impacted you. So I think that all
I
speaks
got
to
more to
it.
add to that. Alright, so I do have more. I went a little left there, but a way that ERDs have really impacted me, especially from my own experience, is this idea of see and be seen. One of the programs that came out of our ERG is called Black Leadership Academy, and that is our motto, which is see and be seen. And I think being a part of the ERG, I've gotten exposure to so many people again that I would not have had otherwise. And I also get to see even higher up within the company with our senior leaders and our executives. This is what happens up here. Me getting exposure to these spaces allows me to see these are possibilities. These are the roles and the experience that you can have if that's what you want. I think that prior to joining an ERG, there were so many things with our company I didn't even know about. I didn't have exposure to it. So I don't even know all the different departments or who does what. I've gotten that within the ERG. Another piece of our motto is to not only to see, but to be seen. As an ERG co-facilitator, I have been put in a lot of situations where I am in rooms with our executives or our senior leaders. They are seeing the work that we are doing. I've been posted in blogs and articles and things on LinkedIn. I wouldn't have gotten those opportunities had I not said yes to joining the ERG and even leading an ERG. Hey, I think it has been one of those not transact yes, I have my whole theory about how ERGs are transactional. You give and you get from them. You give your time and you get experience or will it be whether mentoring. There's so much you can get out of being an within an ERG. But again, I think it's that reciprocal relationship. And I've gotten reciprocity from our ERG in so many ways.
I love that. Okay, so with that in mind, one of our closing questions will be in the vein of a commercial. I want you to improv. If you had to do a commercial that said why someone should be an ERG leader, I would love to hear your 60-second or less take on that.
No pressure at all. All right. You're thinking about being an ERG leader? Let me tell you why. One, not only do you get exposure to your senior leaders, you get to work with a team of your ERG members, which could be a part of your leadership team, but you get to develop skills that include program management. You get to work on leadership delegation. You get to practice skills where you are mentoring or even sponsoring people within your community or your company. So again, join as an ERG facilitator. Again, you're going to get experiences not only that are going to help you professionally, but will allow you to give back to your community.
I love it. That was excellent. So
Woo!
no, you killed it.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Impromptu is usually not my thing.
okay, I like to spice it up every now and then, so I love that. Okay, so then I'll say as we close, which one do I wanna go with? I think I'm gonna go with okay, so ERG Movement Podcast, and even the ERG movement in general, or about doing things better in the ERG space. What's one thing that you would say that the ERG space can use, right now to really take it up a notch?
Let me think on that. Give me a second.
Yep.
I think from what I have seen, there's a lot of variation in terms of how ERGs are ran in different spaces. I do think that having a more, whether it be a uniform place for resources, especially for someone that's new in a role as an ERG program manager. I've been piecing a lot of different things together, and I will say your resources have been phenomenal. But I think also, is there a go-to place for someone that is new in this work? Hey, if you want to learn about ERGs, this is a list of all of the sites that we recommend people go into. I know there are different certification programs and things like that for ERG leadership, but it's a lot of, you gotta take and make it fit for your organization, which I understand. But I think
Mm,
there's so many different resources. Sometimes it can be all over the place. I don't know if that actually answers it, but I think that is one thing I've had to do is I've combed through so many different locations to find the information that's gonna help me put together the program that, I think is gonna be most beneficial for our company, which I think I'm doing. Somebody's gonna tell me if I am or or am not. But again, I think just having a central location, and I wanna shout you out because I think the ERG movement provides a lot of those resources in one place. And again, it's just figuring out how to make it fit for what your organization is doing. Sometimes people just need to know, but how do I do that? Yes, these are the resources, but now what? So
yep. Yep.
it's a
It's
even a mentoring group. "Hey, you're all ERG program managers, get together and figure out, here's how you make it work." And I will say, shout out to you. One of the members on a call that we were on previously, I currently continue to meet with. We have our check-in meetings just to say, "Hey, like, how are things going? This is something that's happened with our company." But I've been able to network within this space, and again, I owe a huge testament to the space that you created. So thank you so much. ER.
I
I think I lost you. I lost you for about 30 seconds.
all good.
Oh,
Is it back? We're back.
we're back.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't know what that was. My internet's like, "Log off for today, please." But no, I appreciate it. By the time that this podcast episode comes out, I think that there'll be some things that you might be interested in, some updates. It's so funny. I was having some conversations on this morning, so I'm excited for what's to come. And honestly, I
Definitely
get
be out.
I mean, I get it. Having been an ERG program manager who also had to scrape things together,
Yep,
I feel like it doesn't have to be hard.
yep.
So, more to come on that. But I definitely wanna thank you for being on the podcast, and shouts out to you for making it work, even with the pieces and bits that are provided all over. It sounds like you have an amazing program. And with that, do you have any closing words for the folks, for the ERG champs?
Again, putting me back on the spot. I'll just say this, there's a community of people that are here to assist. You are not alone in this journey. So definitely, again, I'm not putting myself out there, but look, I am not an expert by any means, but I'm always available to answer questions. But I also want to say, tune in, check out all the resources our ERG homegirl has because she is putting down some gems. Make sure you're picking them up.
Thank you again for being on the podcast. It's been another amazing episode, and we will see you all on the next one.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.